Morning, Deb.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
I think I was able to get on into the right way coming in through Zoom, so that's good.
Good. Do you want to, can you just make me the host for 1 minute
Yep.
and I'll put us on Facebook. For whatever reason, it will only allow Cassie's account to, I think because she created the bit.ly.
Yep.
And then I'll give you the host controls right back. That way we can get it on Facebook.
Absolutely.
What's this session today? It's what are we? We're 6?
Make and receive offers. Elemental 6, make and receive offers.
Okay, thank you.
All day yesterday, I thought I was doing buyer consultations.
Oh no.
Okay, I'm ready for that. And I got up and I said, what day is it? All right.
Oh, whoops. What am I doing here?
Turn this off so it doesn't. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Okay, Deb, we are live on Facebook. I'm gonna give you the host controls back. Do you have someone to support you today with the chat?
I am supposed to have somebody, one of my ALC members was supposed to be coming on as chat, so I'm not sure if I
Okay.
don't see her and I have not heard back.
Okay, I can hang out today. Actually, I think I was just checking my calendar. I don't think I have any other meetings layered on top, but if I do, I'll just come in. I'll come in back and forth. No, I can stay today. So I'll help you. Whatever you need, my friend.
All right. And if she comes in, I'll let you know.
Yep, sounds good. All right, so I'm going to make you the host again. And if you want to just make me a co-host once that happens, and then I can post stuff in the chat and help you out.
Wonderful. So you're Cassie still today.
I'm still Cassie. Yeah, I can rename myself. I know it's confusing.
No, I've got you co-host as well.
All right, thank you.
And hopefully I have a good stable, actually I'm going to close out some stuff while we have 2 minutes. Sometimes I feel like I have too much open. I'm spinning too much. I can close that. Oh, shoot. Hold on, one more thing.
Good morning, everyone. We have a couple of minutes. How's everybody doing with their 10-4? What are we at? We only have like today 4 sessions left. We're done almost. So have you added contacts? How many handwritten notes have you sent? How many calls have you made? While Deb's getting herself all ready for this morning, we can chat about that. Have you made a call? Has anybody gotten an appointment scheduled for a buyer or a seller?
I worked all week on getting letters out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those got out yesterday.
And are you going to follow, what's your plan with those letters? Like how do they fit into your plan?
I'm learning. So I'm gonna let it go for maybe a week and then call a few people on there and start from there.
Okay. Yes.
See if I actually did a drawing on the letter, so they need to contact me to go into the drawing.
Okay. And are these people that you know? So they're not people that you know. Okay. So the thing with that is you really want to just make sure at some point you make a connection, right? So
I already sent them out postcards a month
Okay.
and a half ago.
Okay.
And so now a letter.
Yeah. Yeah. I know
It's like 300 and something people.
Oh, wow. Well, okay. So yeah, so the thing with those mailers is it can take a while for mailers to really take hold, especially without that human connection, right?
Yeah.
Of either talking to you on the phone or door knocking that neighborhood and introducing yourself. That's a great way to follow up on those kinds of things as well. And what will happen to sometimes is people say, oh, I just got something in the mail from you.
Well, that's what I figured, people, because I'm in a vacation area, they're going to be coming up next month, so I could door knock.
Yeah. Yeah.
See if they got it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I wanted to introduce myself and, however you're going to follow that up. But yeah, that human connection is it's really important, right? The paper only will take you so far.
Yeah.
So it's part of a bigger strategy.
Yep.
Yeah. Great. Thank you for sharing. Oh, it's 9:00, Deb. You're on. Or she's frozen.
She's frozen.
I think she's frozen. Good morning, everyone. Oh, we have more people coming on. It's Friday. So today's class is on making. Are you ready? Make and receive
Can you
offers.
guys hear me?
We can hear you, Deb.
I'm having some
All
right, hold on.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh.
You gotta love technology. It's the best. Da, 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 da. We need music. Somebody tell me something good while we're waiting. So we're talking about make and receive offers today.
Is this better?
Yeah, we can hear you and you're moving now.
I know. I just hope I'm not going to have trouble today. That's for sure.
We'll make it through.
We will. We'll make it through for sure. So I thank you, Erin. How is everybody doing? I hear mailings, and how many people are talking to people? Right? Uh-oh. Am I off again?
We can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, cool. All right, so today we're going to talk a little bit about, or quite a bit about make and receive offers. Very interesting part of the real estate business, and certainly a very interesting part of the business these days, for sure. So I'll tell you a brief, the elevator speech, like Darren was saying. I've been in business for about 25 years, really longer, but I hate to say that. I'm at the Market Center over in Westford, really about 45 minutes northwest of Boston on a good traffic day. So come up and see me wherever you're from, stop by, and we'd love to give you a lot of discussion about working with buyers, which yesterday I know that you did. Feeling like I'm Okay, yep. So I don't know, hopefully I may have to on break move, I don't know. So everybody, we talked to 2 minutes, everybody making note of their calls and all of that good stuff, right? So can anybody share something that they have been grateful for in this journey that we're almost finished with next week? Tell me something good.
There's a lot of information.
Okay, Callie, that's awesome. A lot of information, okay? What else?
I know a lot more. I have a lot more tools in my toolbox, especially with the script practice. That definitely helps.
Yep.
And yeah, it makes a lot of difference in my conversations.
There's no doubt about it. We all know once we know our words, we listen at a higher level. All right, one more win.
I'm happy that I have kind of relearned that my mornings can be spent on my business. Because after we're done with this, I've clearly established that I can carve time out between 9 and 12 every day for a month.
Yep, and there's no doubt about it. Everybody should take the same time blocking and move it right into lead generating. And we talked about this day in and day out. Nothing replaces working on your business. Always comes first, working on your business, no matter what your business is. And the more we get into that habit, and it's great for you guys, is I'm assuming mostly newer agents. We always have other agents that are seasoned that do come on. I know I certainly have. When I started at Keller Williams, because I just, it never hurts to get a refresh. And that is the one thing I always take away: work on your business before in your business. We always have to invent new tires and new customers for pizzas and, whatever our business is, we always want new business. So I'm glad to hear that everybody's doing really well. And any particular opportunities that you see for yourself, and what are you excited about as we move into next week, as we round this out? Opportunities. What are you excited about?
Well, I'm excited to actually get out there. I want to meet with prior clients that are within like 50 miles. I want to actually drive to them instead of just calling those. So I'm ready to get going.
Nose to nose, toes to toes. That's perfect, Trevor. Yes, we can do. And we want, we've heard the big rocks and the little rocks and the sand and the water and the whole thing and the emails and all of that and Facebook. That's all the sand and the water. Those big rocks are getting in your car and driving somewhere, or standing at somewhere and turning and saying, hey, I'm in real estate. Just like kindergarten. Hi, my name's Deb. What's yours? And that opens the conversation. And that's the best use of your time, the best ROI, return on your investment. So let's keep always that in mind. We can get very used to just sitting in front of the computer, and this year of COVID has almost made that worse a little bit for us all. So we're really gonna get going, and today's focus is really on making offers and on behalf of your buyer clients. I know yesterday was really getting into that buyer contract conversation, and I hope everybody walked out of that class and said, I'm a professional and I want to get into professional relationships with people, and I'm going to take that piece of the puzzle to the next level. Does anybody feel that way? I'm going to move to the next level. All right, so we're going to do a little screen share here. And let me just get to where I'm going. Hold on, let me get to the beginning. All right, so again, oops, whoa, it's flying. Hold on. Better that it's flying than it's not moving at all, right? All right, so what successful agents do every day. The goal of our time together today really is to learn how to present offers when you represent a buyer and respond to an offer when you represent a seller. Most of the focus is right now on working with buyers. We'll practice some scripts you can use throughout the process and learn how to set the stage for positive negotiating experience. And I'll tell you right now, this market is tricky. And writing up offers is very, oh, you can write up offers all day long. Getting them accepted is the problem. And why is that? And we've talked about this, you know, a little bit off and on all week. Why are we having such an issue these days? What's the problem?
Low inventory.
Right.
Yep.
How do we get that better? How do we solve this problem?
Well, we need to seek out more sellers.
Absolutely. How do we do that? Tell me.
Well, the issue is that the sellers don't want to sell really because they're so afraid they're going to be buying high.
How do we, is there any solution to that problem? What's the dialogue on that?
Actually, yes, one of the coaches had answered that question and said that even though that the prices are going up and people offering over asking price, but the actual interest rate of the mortgage is an all-time low. So it is
Right.
actually the best time to buy, and over time you will be saving money.
Yeah. Thank you, Emma. There's a lot of different ways to go around that dialogue, but at the end of the day, we want to really be the fiduciary for our clients and, you know, give them the best advice. There's, you know, the old rent now, put that all that money you made and make some money on the in other investments. So that's a challenge we can't exactly solve this morning, but obviously the more inventory we have, the better. And I think one takeaway is, yes, we're just going to do it. Now is the time. Now is the time.
Is Deb still with us?
I keep getting that unstable button going.
Deb, I'm just going to jump in real quick. I think to the concern for sellers. Well, first of all, I heard somebody say about how we have to be looking for sellers. I appreciate that. You know where sellers are? They're inside the house, right? Homeowners are sellers. Sellers have decided to sell their home. So we need to be in conversation with all of the homeowners. And yet there's not necessarily every person in every home, as Jameson Souza pointed out there. Who was here the other day for Jameson's class? And we saw how many of those houses in those towns on the South Shore of Massachusetts were actually owned by somebody else, being occupied by somebody else, right? So
Right.
that inventory is flush. That's a whole new conversation that a lot of you weren't exposed to yet. And we're going to net 13% more, but yeah, Tim, we have to turn around and spend 13% more. Not necessarily the case, because we don't know if they're right sizing. How many people have that house? They just sent their last high school or college student out the door, and they're now looking for something smaller footprint, less yard, because I've got my 3-trick hips. I don't want to mow a huge yard anymore. I don't have a rider mower. I don't want to buy a rider mower. Yes, I could hire a landscaping company. I just don't want that much property anymore. So we've got to explore that conversation, and we've got to be okay with the fact that in the grand scheme of things, we're not looking for sellers. We want to be talking to more homeowners. Because as Deb knows, that we used to think, well, they can't sell yet. They haven't built any equity. Almost every homeowner built equity in the last 12 months, right? So now, and this also goes back to what's always important with anyone that's going to buy or sell. Are they truly motivated? Now is not the right time to be just like, well, we're going to see if we can get our number. You can get your number. And it's also military warfare out there, right? So it's not, if you're casually throwing yourself into the sales window, it's probably not the best idea. If they're truly motivated, yes. But we got to start to rethink that. Am I looking for sellers, or am I talking to homeowners? We have to talk to homeowners to invite them to be sellers. And if we're not having that conversation and really helping them understand all their opportunities, we're failing the universe.
Hey, Tim,
Said with love. Hey, Deb.
good morning. We listened to one of the coaches yesterday, like Emma had said, but can you give us your spiel on when, not spiel, but your talk
Here comes my spiel. Hang on. Let me oil up here. Yeah. Get up my snake oil.
if you go up to a homeowner and they say, well, I don't want to sell it yet because when I buy, I'm going to be paying way too much. What is your answer to them?
Yeah, well, like we just touched on, I think, yeah, I appreciate that. Feel, felt, found works almost everywhere. If you're not familiar with Feel, felt, found, start using this script. It will help you pick the restaurant tonight, fellas. I'm telling you, right? So Feel, felt, found. Deb, I understand how you feel. We've had a lot of clients in the last year that have felt the same way. I'm telling you that I hear you. I'm putting you, because what do sellers love? Pack mentality. I'll list my home when the rest of the universe lists their home. A lot of people don't want to list. Well, nobody's listing right now. If I go out there alone, I'll look stupid. No, you'll be setting the market, right? We can join a market or set a market. I would rather set a market personally. So I understand how you feel, Deb. We've had a lot of our clients that have felt the same way in the last 12 months. And what we found is that the opportunity to net so much more right now and garner the lowest interest rates in history allow the opportunity for you to still walk away in the plus. Because what it stands to reason, a lot of our people aren't necessarily going to be moving into a commensurate home. People are right sizing. And if it's a family that's upsizing, it's because they're expecting their next kid, right? If you've had children, the bassinet in the bedroom is not advised. I know we love our kids, but as soon as you can get them into their own bedrooms, it's a blessing. Repeat after me. It's a blessing, right? So the more bedrooms is more bedrooms. And that if that's a necessity, that's a motivation. That's a cost of being a family, right? The other side of the coin that we're consistently hearing is, without fail, I appreciate that, Tim. Where do you expect us to go? And if I'm having this conversation with Deb on her doorstep and she's just sitting at the end of a driveway, she's a homeowner, not a seller yet. Great question, Deb. Do you realize that I'm here having this private conversation with you on behalf of my clients, Nathan Dickey and his family? So I can start to have a conversation with you about what you're looking for, and then I can go privately and quietly knock on Bill Barman's door and invite him to the party. Buyers are feeling fatigue right now.
Well, I think I'm back.
They're in a really big, long line, right? But if I can put my buyer first in line to the conversation on the home that's not on the market yet, because I went and procured it for them, that's a game changer. You will have raving fans that will be telling the story of your business for the rest of their life. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Absolutely.
Welcome back, Deb.
Thanks, Tim. And one other, I know I had to move. I came downstairs. Hopefully I'll be better. Thank you for jumping in on that.
No problem.
One more thing in terms of finding sellers. When you see houses that have a little sign out front that is for rent, apartment for rent, all those people say, hey, maybe you just aren't into being a landlord anymore. And a lot of them are, right? Did you guys get that? Oh, no.
Yeah, you broke up.
Ah, I'm just gonna lose my grip if I can't get this to work today. All right. Let's see if we can make it happen here. So let me go back to our discussion here. Hopefully I didn't lose that. So thank you guys for jumping in. Am I good? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
We
Thank
could.
you. Thank you. Pretty soon I'm gonna have to drive to the office. All right, guys. So what are we gonna do? Go ahead.
That's okay, Deb. I was just saying we can hear you. Go ahead.
All right, okay, it just looks really crazy on my end. All right, so we found a perfect home with our buyer. We're gonna look forward to, buying a property. Here's where the fun and magic all begins. So we're gonna walk through the process. We're gonna explain that this can be a loop. The buyer makes the offer, the seller responds, as it can go all the way around. And what are the buyers feeling during this offer process? Any thoughts?
Anxious?
Anxious, nervous? What else?
I would think excited.
Excited? Are the
Depending on
sellers
what-
feeling anything?
Depending on what's going on,
The seller could be up and down several times in one day or 1 week. The buyer who puts his offer out there is excited, could be up, down. You have to be ready and willing and able to deal with that oscillation in emotion, because it's going to happen. I've sold 2 houses.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, I was up and down at least 80 times. I loved my realtor.
Right.
I hated my realtor. So it goes the whole gambit.
Anxiety, impatience, all of the above. And the buyers run hot, sellers run hot. It's a hot time. It's a big decision. It's not a small, we're not buying a small item. This is a very large amount of money. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. As the real estate professional, what is it our job when everybody's running hot?
I think our job is to just be the steady voice of reason for them and make them feel better about the whole process and let them know that you've got it under control.
Yes, steady. What else?
E-escalating.
Escalating, how do you mean?
Learn how to, if their emotions are going up, you have to use techniques to help bring them down. De-escalating.
Right, de-escalating. I thought, what is e-escalating? I thought it was some new thing.
Yeah, our regional director,
with an
Nathan Dickey,
E.
would say, if you're showing up to a fire, you can bring kerosene or water, right? How will you show up to the conversation, right? Great point, Bill.
Absolutely. I just got a weird error message. Maybe that's my problem. So yeah, you want to be, you just want to keep all the players moving forward. You want to keep everyone up to date and make sure that you are, you know, again, the voice, and do not get into the emotions, do not get in. Sure.
Deb, I think we're losing you again.
It's that pesky dial up in Westford. That's my guess. I'm just going to go with that. My parents live in Chelmsford. My mom.
Enjoy the drive in, Deb.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Bill, do you have any more jokes to get us, just keep us going, Bill? Come on.
Yeah. Does
They're
anybody know
driving,
how to
we'll
play
wait for you.
spoons? I'm going to go fetch my ukulele. Anyway, all right. So while Deb goes and buys a new computer, we're going to jump in here.
Oh my God, it's just going out on me.
Okay.
So Deb,
What?
this is just a thought. Have you turned off your computer fully and turned it back on?
I'd do
So
a hard
Now, why
reset.
don't I
Yeah.
Just
that
do
and
it,
come back in?
but I want you to count to 20 when you turn it off, so it fully disconnects from your network, and then you can get a clean grab back to your network when you turn it on. So we'll keep carrying on here for a few minutes. Why don't you power down, count to 20, and then turn it back on, and we'll see you in a few minutes. Okay?
Wonderful. I'll
Thank
be back
you.
after lunch. No.
Oh my God.
All right. So where were we? What were we talking about?
It's actually a great opportunity for a question because Deb brought in a very nice point regarding landlords that might be interested into selling their investment property.
Sure.
Okay.
But I'm not quite sure how to have that conversation with the eviction moratorium and why would buyers or investment buyers would be interested into buying a property that there is tenants with no lease, with the eviction moratorium on, they're not going to be able to get, cash back on that property. So how do I explore that avenue?
Well, so there's a few different things there's a few things that I'm hearing in there. So I think the eviction moratorium is different in different places, but you are still required to, people are still required, at least in New Hampshire, they're still required to pay their rent. They're still required to, take care of the property and meet the conditions of their lease. So there's, it doesn't, and I think there's some confusion around that specifically for tenants, that they think they have the right to not pay their rent and stay in the property. Depending on your location, I can't speak to that because I'm sure there's different rules in different states. Tim, do you have more insight into that?
Well, I was going to just friendly reminder, we're talking to 6 states. Welcome everybody to New England. So we want to make sure that we're gracefully having that conversation, talking to our local leadership. Emma, great point that you bring up, because there is a lot of loose and flowing parts. So when we're going to be moving a home from one owner to the next, the title has to clear, right? So if we're going to clear a title, it's the same thing. We're going to make sure, like, obviously, especially if it's an investor and they've got a portfolio and they're looking to add 123 Main Street to that, they're going to want to see a P&L. They're going to want to say that the rents are good. They're going to want to see commitment maybe from the people that are staying. Quite honestly, from state to state, with the different conversations going on right now with protections for renters, if 123 Main Street, Emma, the property you call on, is it currently a headache or a concern for that owner? My question, anytime I'm calling on a multi, would be, is there anything else in your portfolio that you're looking to move, right? Because we have a lot of our agents up here that have more than one multi in their portfolio, or a lot of people that have investment portfolios have more than one multiple door property. So I would even explore that conversation. I think more often than not, we call and they're like, no, I'm not looking to sell. Well, I appreciate that, Bill. Is there anything else in North Conway that you have ownership over that you're thinking about moving? And just leave it to that. So it's certainly worthwhile having that conversation. I think Jameson made a great point. Clearly his team drills down real deep on that. And there's no harm in opening the door and having the conversation and starting to explore the opportunity. And if you're concerned that I don't really know enough about this to get into that, find out who the agent is in your market center that does that at a real high level, and ask them what their conversations have been like lately. And see where they're going with it. And again, we have to remember too, the conversation we're having right now with moratoriums because of COVID is going to change when we get to the other side of this, which feels like it's about 37 minutes out, which is a blessing. So, but we're going to have more challenges with medical pandemics. There's going to be another thing that comes along in the future where we might have to wear masks again and separate again, and industries might get shut down again. So we have to be prepared for that. So adding all these conversations to our arsenal, all these arrows to our quiver, is a blessing. Don't get caught up in the fact that just because there are certain things going on, because he might have properties in multiple states. She might have properties in all 6 New England states, and some of them might be free to move. Because right now what we're seeing, Bill can nod to this because he's standing on his deck again. Beautiful view of the mountain, kiddo. There's people up there right now are absolutely capitalizing on the opportunity, because a lot of people are looking for the second home, because we saw that at the top of COVID, people were just like, oh, I don't have to be in New York anymore. I can come north. We saw a lot of people take the exodus to where there's more trees than people. So I just keep asking. Our job is to keep asking questions.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing too, to Tim's point, when we're talking about multifamilies, it depends on what the investor plans to do with the property too. Like, are they looking
Nicole,
for?
This is Brian Muck. How are you today?
Hi, Brian.
Good. It's good to see everybody on the awards show last night. That was kind of fun. Yeah.
Oh, I think that was a mistake. But, I think making sure that you understand what people want from the property. Some people buying multis are intending to live in part of it, right? And reap the benefit of living in a multi and having to have someone else pay their mortgage. If you're looking at property that's full of tenants, that might not be something that's going to be able to be done right away for that person who maybe wants to live in the property. If they're looking for a property with tenants that have a rental history and the property is being rented at the highest rent, then that might be a benefit to them, right? They're going to buy a property that's already making some money. So it really just depends on what people want to do. There's all different ways that investors behave with multis and their goals. So I think to Tim's point, like, Just because there's tenants in a property doesn't mean that an investor does not want to buy it. It might be attractive because it has tenants in it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I know state to state people are, I know, well, I think anytime you talk to somebody who's investing quite a bit, or if you're dealing with a buyer who's looking for their second or third home, and their second and third home have 2 decimal points in it, they're watching things happen globally that are affecting the markets that we don't pay attention to. Like in my last year in production, I had a vice president of a firm in Boston, and we'd get on the phone to talk as we were working through a deal. And he'd be like, did you see that little skirmish in some country I'd never heard of? But like his people are watching this because that affects the prices of widgets, which affects the price of oil. And he was concerned about moving forward and making this transaction. What's my point? Here it comes. Everybody's super excited that there's some people, I should clarify, some people are super excited that the conversation of a $15 minimum wage is being thrown on the table, and that I'm going to be able to raise my rents because of that. It's just going to lift the table on everything. And there's a lot of people that are investors that know that that will become problematic, because you can think, well, they can afford more rent. Well, that everyone's going to know that. So people that own multis or single family homes that are renting to the young couple are just going to raise all the numbers along with it. So that's going to be something to keep your eye on too, because I think a lot of people are excited, like, oh, I'll be able to charge more rent when I buy this investment property. I'll be able to charge more rent if that should go through nationally or in my state. And I think the whole bar is just going to get lifted. That'll be cool for about 10 minutes. And that's my 2 cents. I do not speak for Gary or Nathan Dickey or Aaron. I just think people are excited about this $15 minimum wage and how that's going to raise the bar for everybody. Yes, it is. And rents are going to go up because of it too. And it's going to create a whole new headache, I think. So.
So Deb just texted me. She's almost on her way back. So she hopefully
back into the Zoom room or back to the Westford Market Center?
Yeah, I think almost back to Zoom. I'm hoping.
Okay.
I don't know. So we were talking about, we're going to be talking about making and receiving offers today. And I think the conversation before Deb shut down was around keeping our cool, right?
Well, our response, right? She was talking about the loop when an offer is made, right?
Okay.
And I a great thing to remember, and for buyers and sellers without fail, and especially right now, because who's currently working with a seller? Who in the last 27 minutes has had a multiple offer deal? Yeah, right. Like that's a thing right now. In the past, I would always say to a seller who had been marinating in the marketplace, as we used to call it, they put their listing on in 1932 and they're still waiting for the first offer. And then that first offer shows up and they're insulted. You know what you need to do with an offer? Respond. Any response, right? And again, in a multiple offer situation, if 20 offers hit your kitchen table and 5 of them are out of bounds, you can politely not respond to those, although you need to get back to the agent and say, we're moving in another direction. At the same time, if you haven't had anyone make you an offer in months and somebody makes an offer, I feel the best response is any response. You can respond back with the same price. Now, we're not experiencing that right now. So I know it sounds like I'm speaking Greek. Well, no, but people are coming in. We talked about it earlier in the week. One of our agents up here at 463 had somebody come in 120 over ask, 22% over list, and he had to call and say, sorry, you lost. Good day, sir.
Yeah.
In ordinary times, after Lent, in ordinary times, we will without fail get to a point where we're going to see a pricing correction, and we're going to go listing heavy, buyer light. And we're going to see people coming and making offers, and your seller is going to be insulted. And we just need to make sure we're responding and keeping the dance going, right? Give them some sort of a response.
So, the other thing I keep thinking about specifically, in this market is how can we had so much conversation about, the buyer love letters and are they okay? Are they not okay? Right. There's a lot of stuff coming around that. And it's a practice that's not in all markets and likely is going to be phased out, I think, over time. But what is the question that we can ask if we're getting ready to write an offer that could be really, really powerful for any of our clients?
You could always just pick up the phone and call the listing agent and ask them what their seller, what's important to them. Is it timeline? Is
Yay.
it price?
Love
Nice
it.
job, Amy. Yep.
Yeah, that's a great question, right? What's important to your seller? What would a great deal look like?
Yep.
Right. Because we think that it's going to be price all the time, and it's not always price. Sometimes it is, but
Sure.
sometimes
than
it
not.
might be something else.
Yeah. People are convinced that, well, because we're so used to saying highest and best, and we tie highest to best, and we think that price is the only thing that matters. And to Amy's point, if I call and ask Amy, hey, thanks for the second showing. The Lindsays are excited. We're putting together an offer. What's really important to your sellers? What is a great offer? To Erin's point, what does a great offer look like to your sellers? Now, a year ago, it would have been like cash yesterday, Timmy. Haha. What are you really telling me? If Amy starts to list off 5 bullet points, and the third one is the money, the first one is we don't want to empty the basement. The second one is we're probably going to leave the tractor in the barn, right? Like all these things that are just because they're 80 years old and they just want to go to Florida, right?
Yeah.
They just want to leave town. I want to go play golf and die. Thank you. Right. Can I leave all the stuff in the basement? And that's this, we have to be really open to that conversation and be like, yes, I can hire a company to empty my basement after I own it. Let's just buy the house. Right. So asking that question is super powerful. Great point, Amy. Deb's back.
I'm back. I
Yay,
think
Deb's back.
exactly. Hopefully we're good to go. I don't know what the deal is. Hopefully Erin's wise advice is going to
The hard reset is always a fail safe for sure.
Can I tell you a crazy idea? I kind of dreamed this the other day, but
Yeah,
now, I'm not financially stable
Not
enough to do this right now, but I think if I had a 3-bedroom condo or a single family home that I kept for my sellers, I could attract a lot of sellers and say, I have a home for you. It's ready. If you list your house with me, you can move right in, and for up to 6 months until I can find you the perfect home to buy after that. If I had that, I think I could get an instant seller.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great idea. And I've heard that. I think we all should do. How much does it cost to stay at the Marriott or maybe you could stay at the hotel with a pool and the whole thing and rent out your place, right? Now, what's the difference in the price? So I know that's got to be creative here, guys, for sure.
Trevor, I love the idea. I think locally, I would still want a lease in place. I would want all the parameters in place as if I were treating them as a client who was leasing from me. And the monthly lease would be a penny, right? Just to keep it above board, right? Because from an insurance standpoint and all that kind of stuff, you'd have to have, chain of custody on the property so you could do all that. But yeah, that's a great. I mean, we have I should say listing agents. Kenny Klaus, I'm gonna get it wrong. I think he's down in Nashville. Kenny Klaus from KW. You'll see him on stage with Gary when we get back to stages. He got so tired of moving companies being an issue, he bought some moving trucks. And he's just got it's Kenny Klaus. And every time you see those trucks, you know who moved them, right? So yeah, taking it that step further and saying, hey, I've got a place where you guys can hide while we're in between houses,
Yeah.
Can I add something?
I think that's, yes.
Just kind of piggybacking off you, Erin and Tim, when you guys are talking about the sellers and what they're looking for. Just from my own experience, I think in 2015, when we bought our second home, the sellers, very emotionally attached to their home. There were 4 bidders on the home. We basically, long story short, we beat everybody else out, and she had higher bidders. So she basically stated to us personally that she chose us because she believed we were the best fit for her home. So she took $15,000 less to put us into her home because of her emotional attachment to the home, and she wanted to see it go to the right family. So it's interesting to see the different takes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Brian, we've been running a quiet poll all month and you win best topiaries. I just wanted to say that out loud since it's Friday. Nice work, buddy.
All right, guys. So how am I doing? Am I in the thing here? You guys got me?
Yes.
All right,
We can
wonderful
hear you.
discussion. Absolutely wonderful discussion. Yeah, we can, and we'll talk about some of those points for sure as we move forward in through the program here. So let's do a little screen share and get back to the program and talk about, let's continue to talk a little bit more about preparing offers and the whole offer process. And where did I leave off? Hold on. So yeah, sellers making emotional decisions about buyer can be a very hot topic right now, and we're going to talk about that a little bit as well as I load. So buyer, you know, again, we're talking about the offer process loop, you know, and for those of you who are brand new and just getting into the scene, we want to make sure that you're completely clear on how the whole process works. Oh, geez. All right, hold on. Okay, so buyer makes the offer and there's 3 responses. The seller, and these are the things that you're going to want to talk to your buyers about. We had yesterday the consultation about all the buyer's needs and wants and hopes and dreams. And now we're going to talk really clearly on the actual process and how it's going to work. So the buyer makes the offer and we've called the list agent and we've gotten all the information that we can to make the best and cleanest offer, whatever that may be, with the seller's needs in mind. And the seller's going to respond in one of 3 ways. And what do we see here? What are the 3 ways they respond?
Accept, reject, or counter.
Exactly. And what's happening most of the time these days? Anybody have any either experienced it or hearing it at their market center?
Accept, reject.
Accept or reject.
Reject.
Because of multiple offers, usually people just go with the best offer and just reject the
Right.
other ones without negotiation.
Correct.
With
Yeah,
24 offers, 23 get rejected for the one that gets accepted.
Mm-hmm.
That's the painful part of this whole deal. It's the other 23 buyers and the other 23 agents who've worked all night long and all week long and for 6 months to find these buyers a home. And they've, you know, so that's the, you know, sort of some of this does hark back to the expectation discussion with your buyers to make sure that they get it. They're in this market. It's not fun and it's not for everybody. And it's sometimes some buyers have to say, this is not the market for me. But in our calm, reassuring way, we help them move forward in this situation. Yeah, we're seeing, you know, come back with highest and best. Yes, certainly 23 offers, 20 of them are probably just washed out for particular reasons. And what are the reasons that they're not being even considered? Does anybody know?
Contingencies. Oh.
Financing.
Yes.
Home inspection. A lot of people are waiving home inspection. I
Right.
have been offer waiving mortgage contingency. It seems seems that people are doing that right now
Right.
just to get the
Right.
offer accepted.
So, very different.
I'm even seeing deadlines on offers cause them to get rejected because it puts the seller off.
Right. So what we want to do the best.
No, getting cut off. Hello.
Hi.
Oh my goodness, guys. Oh
I
no.
know.
I thought it's me.
Hey, Erin,
Yeah,
why don't you load up the slide deck? Do you have the slide deck there?
I do.
Yeah, why
I
don't you
can
load that up?
find it. Let's see. I have a bunch, hold on, I got a bunch of other stuff open on my desktop.
Have we thanked you guys for your patience this month? Thank you for your patience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
It's Lent. We're giving up being frustrated. We're
This is
being
a
fascinated. Yes.
novel
For those
question.
of you observing Lent.
There you go.
This is just a novel question tech wise. Is it because she's host and there's bandwidth issues?
Oh
would
yeah,
be.
I'm gonna blame it on that she's at home and she might not have the most robust signal at home. That's all. That's my guess.
Wait a minute. Sorry, I'm getting the slides here. Okay.
Hey Deb, we're grabbing the slide deck and we're gonna load it up. That way, should you decide to take a digital break, we can run with the ball. Oh, she's gone again. She gone again? She's back again.
Oh, it's giving me a weird view.
Now you understand why I got out of the software business.
We're happy to have you, David.
Yes.
I am here, but I'm not feeling confident that I'm going to stay here.
Yeah.
Well, we're loading up the slide deck, Deb, so that way,
Attempting.
should you duck out, we can just move the ball forward.
I'm going to duck out and go to Best Buy. You know, honestly, this thing has been acting weird all week. So, you know, at some point I have, you know, yep, present mode.
Deb, don't worry. We're still going to give you the 5-star rating.
I get it, but not my computer. I promise I'll jump on and take somebody's next week. How's that? Yeah.
Why is it? Where is the present mode? I can't. Why is it?
Right, up to the right where it says share.
Oh, because it's not covered. It was covered.
Yeah.
I'll stay on. Maybe it's my screen share. I'll stay on and try to help. How's this?
Oh, why is it showing all of this stuff? Oh my God, you guys.
There you go.
Can you see the screen?
Hmm.
Yes. Yes.
All right. All right. Are we still on this slide or did we move on? Were we here?
We were there.
Yep.
Okay. Is Deb with us? I can't see anything. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
Deb's here. Deb's here.
All right, Deb, are you ready to roll?
You just let us know when you want the next slide, kiddo.
I'll try. All right, so, oh boy. Okay, so it's going to be fun. So we're going to make offers. We're going to learn how to do that today. How's that sound? All right, let me see if I can open this thing. That might help. So making an offer, they're going to either counter, they're going to accept, or they reject. We all know that story. And the best way to really get it accepted is by really preparing a good offer. So let's go to the next slide and talk about a checklist, and then we're going to have some discussions. So we're going to prepare the offer. It's going to be fun. So next one, we're going to write up the offer, and we're going to look at the checklist stuff. All right, so in your guide, in your participant guide, and I hope everyone has it, it is something called the, prepare to write up your offer, and then the checklist on how to write up the offer. Now, a lot of this checklist to prepare to write up an offer is a lot of what you've already done as of, per sort of yesterday's discussion, right? Like, you want to make sure you have everything that you need, and you're going to have a really firm discussion about how this market is working right now with your clients, so they fully understand the whole scene. Right? I can open mine over here too, which is helpful. Now this stupid one is going to work, the other one won't. All right, so we're going to take this checklist. Again, you're going to find it in your toolkit, and you're going to make sure that you're going to have your offer put together really well. You're going to explain, you're going to build rapport with the listing agent. We talked about that a little bit. And it's a really important part of representing your buyer. Any information you get from the listing agent certainly can give you some leverage. And, you know, I could hear before Tim was talking about, you know, finding out if they have things that they don't want to empty out of their basement. Buyers right now have to be super duper flexible for sure. So make sure that you're putting all of those things together so you're 100% clear. Obviously, you want to put together a market analysis on the property in question. And, you know, that doesn't have to be something huge and formal, but we like to refer to it in our market center as a snapshot. What is happening in the last 30 days in this type of property? Let's make sure that, I mean, unfortunately, the sale prices don't even necessarily reflect what the market is necessarily doing, but we're in a very niche market right now, and it's very, very unusual. As we move forward into regular world, you know, this is what we do. We do a quick CMA to make sure that the buyers are in the right direction here. Okay, and then as we move forward, we want to start the process of writing up the offer. So Erin, if you want to shoot toward that, we could talk a little bit about understanding, next one more. So again, back in your participants guide, and I think it's page 6 or 7 maybe, you're going to talk about writing up the offer. Now, just a little quick note, has anybody really written up a lot of offers in their day, or give me some feedback on some of people's experiences?
No, never.
Not for a client, nope.
Interesting. That's good to know. So, you know, really, very first thing you need to do is have your checklist. We want to make sure that you're arriving at a logical offer price based on all of our research and talking to everybody that you can in your market center to help you with advice. You know, I hope everybody has a great productivity coach that they can review the offer with, so that they're sort of not going out completely blindly. There's certain information you want to pull in from the multiple listing service. And these are just little notes that you guys should always have as your cheat sheet, so to speak, of what you want to obtain from the multiple listing service in order to present your offer and make sure that your buyers are most educated in the particular property, right? Things you want to pull from multiple listing, you want to pull the seller's disclosure to make sure that you are disclosing what the sellers are saying about the property. Obviously, you want to have the multiple listing sheet, and let's read it. Let's look at what is conveyed, what is staying, you know, what is going. Just because there's a big swing set, it doesn't mean it is actually going to be there. Or alternatively, maybe there is a big swing set and you don't want it and it's going to be there. So and the buyers are, as we said previously, very excited, their emotions are running high. They're not thinking of those details, and it's our job as their agent to make sure that we're doing our homework on their behalf. So let's read those listing forms and make sure that we're understanding what we are selling or what we are presenting to these buyers. You know, what's in as a caveat, let's not get into what do we do when the buyer wants to add, I want to include the swing set, or I want the bar stools, or, you know, I want the lawnmowers, the riding lawnmower, the push lawnmower, and all of the, you know, how do people handle that piece? What's the best practice what do you guys think?
Put it under
Inventory
provision.
list.
Add it to the purchase and sale.
So, okay, here's another point we need to make. Different states have different processes. I'm over in Massachusetts, so we're a 2-contract state. We write up the offer, we have a home inspection, then we go to purchase and sale. So in general, either way, I can see it spinning again. in general, either way, what is best practice on, and let's take some notes on personal property. A, what is the best thing to do?
You can speak with the buyers or the seller client or seller agent, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's one idea. What's the best idea to do about personal property?
And
Are
add
you
it to
talking about in the current
provisions.
market or are you
Stay out
talking
of
about,
it.
because that's a big difference.
I'm sorry, Erica, can you repeat that?
Are you talking about in the current market or in general?
In general, both.
Keep it
Well,
off the
checking sure that
contract.
the seller is willing to leave those items if not already disclosed.
I
And-
heard, go ahead. So Bill Barbin, your comment, what is the best practice about personal property?
Keep it off the contract.
Bingo. That is the best practice. Do not put unless it's listed in MLS, they're leaving the swing set, leave personal property out of the discussion. And why do you think that is, guys?
For lenders, if you're talking about a loan sale as opposed to a cash sale.
Well, that is part of it. That is one reason to leave it off, because the lender does not give value to lawnmowers and so forth. What's another reason to leave it off?
Well, you're
It's not
gonna,
real estate.
Correct. What's another reason?
the closer you get to the sale, the owner is gonna oscillate between giving it and not giving it. So if you don't want troubles, keep it off of it. That way, you can keep it non-personal.
Correct. This is a business transaction, and personal property is exactly what that is, personal. And remember several slides back in the beginning of our thing, there's a lot of emotions going on with buyers and sellers, and people can get very emotionally attached to a riding lawnmower for the wrong reasons. And I promise you, it will be a problem. If you start, and you can ask agents in your market center, have they lost deals over bar stools and riding lawnmowers and swing sets? You will get yes every time. So let's make it a best practice as we move forward. And the dialogue for that is, geez, yes, I think that lawnmower is sweet too. Let's wait till we get further into the process, closer to the closing, and we'll ask the seller if perhaps he has a little list of things he may not want and might, I'll talk to the listing agent and we'll get a little list of things he may not want. Or maybe you put a little list together. Hey, I'd love these 5 items, and we can talk about that then. Otherwise, you will become a used furniture, used appliance, a salesperson, and we don't want to do that.
Well, what about like the appliances that are like attached to the building, like the dishwasher, the fridge, any of that stuff? No?
In the disclosures, isn't
Well,
it?
it depends. Yep, it depends very, very, very clearly on the multiple listing, the seller's disclosure and the multiple listing sheet. If it says the washer, dryer, stove, and dishwasher included, that doesn't mean the refrigerator is included. If it says the refrigerator is included and your buyer doesn't want a 27-year-old white refrigerator, then they're going to have one when they move in. So this is the importance of being very clear on what is being offered and what your buyers are expecting. Some people love a 27-year-old refrigerator. They'll put it right out in their garage. But, in a lot of sellers, really at the end of the day, don't want to take some of their appliances. But again, let's be very focused on what is being sold as real estate. And there are certain things that have to be there because of health code, and I think a stove is one of them. I don't believe a dishwasher is not. And I've seen, because I'm not the host, I can see some funny chats. People do not come very emotionally attached to those pianos because those are so hard to get rid of, and pool tables as well.
So those talk about the price. We're going to get our checklist to write up our offer, right?
Hey, Deb.
Yeah.
I was reading an article recently, and they were talking about you have to word these things carefully, like the appliances, because then you can get stuck warrantying them. Do you understand what they mean by that?
No, I don't know that I've seen that specifically. So if you say you include a, tell me a little bit more about that issue.
I wish I had the article in front of me right now, but they were saying that, you don't want to, the way they were saying it was you don't want to include it in the house description or something to that effect, because then you get stuck warrantying them if there's an issue.
Well, I'd like to see the article. I'm not really sure
I'll see
on
if I
that
can
one.
find it.
You know what I mean?
may I add-
No, when you signed a purchase and sale, you are not offering any warranties.
Right.
And it's part of the
May I offer a suggestion to that? So basically, in Rhode Island, we're basically told to have our buyer purchase a home warranty, so that it covers the 27-year-old refrigerator, dishwasher, etc. So basically, that's what we do.
Well, I would say check with your market center, check with your team leader, and who, go to that for your specific guidelines. We're selling real estate, not stuff like that. But yeah, a home warranty can be a very useful tool.
Yeah.
Providing that particular warranty covers those particular items for sure.
Right. Yeah.
So so again, let's make sure we have all of our things. So we've got our price and terms, we've got our seller's disclosure. We're very clearly looking at our MLS sheet to make sure that when we write up our offer, the buyer understands what they're getting. Now, different states also have different things you must include. If it's Massachusetts, you have to include a lead paint disclosure, that the seller has to disclose what they have, whether they know or they do not have lead paint. We're not going to go into all of these docs, but keep in mind of the things that you are supposed to include in your offer within your own market center. Obviously, you're going to have a copy of the earnest deposit check. And as we move forward too, there's some offer writing guidelines that really ensure that we know that the buyer knows exactly what's happening with everything. And then we're going to talk about timelines. Right? Ooh, okay. I can't mute anybody. So there's timelines that we're going to be talking about here, and be very careful with the timelines to make sure that you as a buyer can accommodate those timelines. And also back to the discussion with the list agent, maybe the seller has a particular timeline that they have in mind. That's a huge piece of the offer in this market right now. If the seller is really struggling with where they're going to go, you might have a discussion with your buyer to determine if they would accommodate allowing the seller to stay post-closing. Has anyone seen that?
No.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah. Sure.
When did they need to give you the earnest money?
The beginning.
Okay, and we'll go through those exact numbers, and that's something that is part of called the offer writing guidelines, and that's really next. So why don't we, we're going to get to that next, and we're going to talk about the specifics of writing up the offer, and then we're also going to be talking about the financing piece. And the bottom line to real estate is clarity is the way to go. The clearer everybody is, the better everyone. Due diligence with everyone to make sure that they are understanding what they're going to be needing. So if we could go to the next slide. Oops, she didn't. I don't know if Erin, you're still there. This is a fun class.
Yeah.
So another thing, the very first thing you want to do too, let's get back to, uh-oh, now we've lost Erin and we're losing me. All right, so the very first thing you want to do when you're going to start your offer, I'm recommending that you go into command and create your opportunity. Is everyone making a habit of when they're working, when they have a buyer contract, that all goes into command? Let's hear a little bit of command discussion at this point. Is everybody making that their practice?
Yes.
So, okay, so you've met with your client like yesterday, you did your buyer consultation, you have your contract that goes into the consultation stage of command, correct?
Mhm.
Okay, now for you, for all of you, how does it work? Do you go forward from there and create your documents? Where do you have your documents in order to write up an offer?
I haven't used command yet, so I'm not sure how to write an offer from command.
Dot loop.
Okay.
DocuSign.
DocuSign. Okay. So
Dot loop.
yeah. So forms, you're going to have your forms somewhere, right? So if it's, I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, you'll probably within your market center, there is probably a class on forms, whether it's seller forms or buyer forms. Usually, and I'm quite sure all of you have your forms somewhere in your system. Most of them you connect from command, whether it's dot loop or DocuSign or zip, whatever it is. So let's make sure we know how to get to our documents. And again, check with your market center, your TL, your tech person, whoever it may be. Make sure that you go to your market center and get direction, because if you're
Deb,
writing up a, yes.
Can I ask you a question? What is the big difference between DocuSign and dot loop? Because some people are using one or the other.
Well, it also depends on your market center. Forms are forms. They're all the forms. The DocuSign and dot loop are just different systems of operation. And depending on your market center, some have connectivity to one or the other.
Okay.
Massachusetts, it's DocuSign. I don't know about you guys in New Hampshire or Connecticut. What is everybody else having?
So ultimately they do the same thing.
They do. They do the same thing in different ways. Neither one of them are perfect and excellent and like a dream. Neither one of them. They're both a little quirky to use, and there's always a learning curve with them. But once you get the hang of it, you'll move your way through them.
Okay.
You know,
and
when
you
we
use
first started
DocuSign?
at I happen to use DocuSign.
Okay.
When I first started at Keller Williams, it was dot loop, and I couldn't figure that out to save my life. Figured that out. Now we've moved over to DocuSign, so it's that same learning curve. They're still the same forms. It's just
great
how to operate them. So you'll figure it out, and just make sure you're talking to your tech person at the office, whoever does training on forms. So basically, I don't know if Erin got off on something, but we need to move forward. But really, if you're looking in your participant guide, hey, so again, create your offer in command and have somebody in your office help you make that transition in. One more slide, Erin. So now we're going to go, and you can look in your participant guide for offer writing guidelines. It is page 6 of your participant guide. So these are the things that you need to tell and discuss with your buyer. Okay, guys, we've looked at property. We're very excited. You know, we're ready to go. And these are the things that are going to happen, in the level of that conversation and the tone of that conversation is quite important in the moving you forward. I feel almost like you guys can't hear me.
You
got
were
now.
a little.
You lagged for a few seconds.
Yeah.
We got
But
you.
you're back.
Bill, you there? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can hear you.
Technology today. Did she leave?
I think she got booted.
Oh my gosh.
I kicked her out finally.
Oh, this is a rough room today, boy.
David's basking in this because he sees everyone else experiencing software hell that he's used to all too well.
Problem is that I'm usually on the other end of the phone. Will you get this blankety blank thing working? So yes, I am smiling, thinking about all of the issues somebody's having somewhere with the network. This is a bandwidth problem
Yeah,
where she
this
is.
is a problem for sure. Am I back? Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, you're
Yep.
back.
So you guys get the prize for the patience for doing buyer forms, buyer class, for sure. And I apologize, and I don't know what else to do but keep forging forward. That's what we do in real estate, right? We just keep working. All right,
Yes.
so, right? So offer writing guidelines for sure. It's page 6 of your participants guide. Remember, everything you're getting here in Ignite, put them in a folder, get a 3-ring binder and carry that thing around with you, right? So we have the checklist to write up an offer. So first of all, we're gonna, again, the tone of this conversation is gonna push forward your offer in one way or the other, okay? So this is a big decision for people. We wanna make sure that we're doing things correctly. So we're gonna ensure the buyer that they are writing, and somebody asked this question earlier, that they're going to be writing an offer, that they are going to be giving a check for their deposit. It is written the day we write the offer, and when that offer is accepted, that check will be cashed. And it will go into escrow with the listing agent's office, typically. And yeah, they need those funds in the bank. It's not stapled to someone's folder and it sits in the office somewhere. Fully executed contract to purchase, consideration must be given. That consideration is that $1,000 or $5,000 or whatever it may be. So you can check with your team leader if there's specific guidelines within your market center, or certainly your MCA, I would imagine. So you're going to get your appropriate offer to purchase forms, and you're going to begin the process writing up the offer. Now, we're not going over an exact offer here, but we want to make sure that we're looking at all of the particular pieces that are important in the offers. So let's talk about some bullet points. What are the main points of writing up an offer? What are the things we've been talking about a little bit? First thing.
Price.
Ooh.
What is your contract? Right. So the very first thing we want to do is make sure, we've already done this, but in this day and age, let's make sure the offer that they haven't already accepted an offer. Let's hope that they have not. In offer period is Monday afternoon or at 2 o'clock, whatever it is. So we're going to begin the process of writing up the offer. And these are the bullets and the discussion points that we are going to have with our buyers. What do you want to pay for the house? What is your contract to purchase price? How much are you willing to pay for this house, right? Does that make sense for number one?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say they're going to offer $500,000 for something. Now, I don't know how it works. Most of the time we have a deposit amount and then we have a second deposit at purchase and sale. I know in New Hampshire, how does it work? How does that work?
Are you asking if we have to have a deposit?
No, I'm asking, do you have one deposit amount or two?
It depends. You can negotiate that. So it's not required that you have two, but sometimes there are two. So you might have a second deposit at a certain point in the contract. Typically, it's after inspections have cleared if you're going to do a second deposit, but not everybody does a second deposit.
Interesting. Is it a negotiating point? Is it something that would be interesting to the seller. Yeah.
It could be. Yeah. You know,
When you say deposit, you're talking about escrow, right?
Yes.
yes.
And now I thought because of this market where it's been better to do one lump first escrow instead of two separate ones.
So I'm just saying that if we don't have a requirement in New Hampshire around that. So in terms of one or two or a lump sum at the beginning, and it could be a negotiation, right? Because that deposit could potentially be at risk if you walk away from the deal or something happens in the deal, right? So that's where the deposit becomes valuable to a seller. For some, you know, I've had it all different kinds of ways that people have offered it on my listings, but generally if I see a second deposit, it's after inspections.
Correct. In Massachusetts, we have a two-step process, Melissa. It sounds like we have, how do I say it? New Hampshire is sort of optional. In Massachusetts, it's both. You write up your contract of purchase with a deposit amount of $1,000 or something. It's the same philosophy though. After a certain time period, we move now to the purchase and sale agreement, and then an additional deposit goes at that time. Now, people get a little tripped up with the word deposit and down payment. So there's two different categories here a little bit. The deposit amount is held in escrow. Yes, of course, it goes toward the house and toward the down payment, but there still might be more down payment money also. So let's make sure that we understand all of those factors. Sometimes people's deposit is all the money that they have, you know, but certainly somebody can have a deposit of $20,000 and they may still bring another $100,000 to the closing, pending a sale or something. So make sure we're really understanding our documentations. But the point of the discussion is to say, this money is going to be cashed. So this is money that you have to have. Also in our market center, and you can check again with your TL or your MCA, because deals are moving so quickly, we're asking for certified funds or bank check with the second offer or the larger deposit. Most people just have a, you know, personal check and all of that for their first offer. But if they're putting a big chunk of money down, they're asking for a bank check to make sure those funds are certified. And does anybody have any thoughts on why that would be the case and why we want to have that discussion?
But they're serious. It shows that they're serious about the offer.
Yeah, what else?
Well, availability of funds, number one. If
Yeah.
it's a personal check, there's all kinds of bank rules about how much you can get out at any one time over what period of time. With a certified check, I believe it's the same as if you had cash in hand.
Right.
The availability
really
of
a
the
little
funds
bit
is
of
immediate. Sorry.
It's really more of a logistical thing also. If you have a personal check and you write an offer on April 1st and your closing is April 25th, just say you're going to turn a deal around really quickly, it's by the time that first check gets to the listing office, it could be 3 or 4 days, and then it sits at the listing office and it goes into escrow a couple days later, and then there's just a weird timeline that a paper check travels in this world these days. And if you get to your closing in a week before the closing and the closing attorney is or the lender is wondering about that $10,000 check, it may not have been removed yet out of the, I mean, it's highly unlikely, but there's a likelihood that it might not be removed yet out of the buyer's account, and it just throws their debt off. Erin, looks like you want to say something. No?
Yeah. So I just, to this point, actually, you need to be very mindful. There's different rules actually in different states. So money doesn't become hard when it's written in a check in the state of New Hampshire for 10 days. So that check has to have 10 days. So if you're requesting escrow to even get it to be released back to bring it to closing, you may have a certain amount of days that you need to ask for that back. The other thing is that they may not take a certain kind of check, right? Because it isn't going to be hard money. So I know there are federal guidelines around that, and then there are each state has its own guidelines. So as we are a regional course, just make sure that you're checking with your area, that you know what those timelines are.
Absolutely, absolutely. And because this market is so fast and everybody's making such fast offers and fast decisions, and we don't want to be getting ourselves in, we don't want to be getting anybody in a bind. And we get to closing and there's that $10,000 just isn't anywhere to be found. That will delay a closing like a heart attack. So, the easy best practice for that is a certified check. Now, Erin, is a certified check funds?
Yeah.
Clear hard money?
Yeah. So it, as long as it's, so it's the personal checks that can take 10 days. And I think it's, and I know even, specifically talking about this market, if you have a really short closing period and that check hasn't cleared our account at the market center, then we can't release it for the escrow. So that's another thing to keep in mind when you're thinking about the way that you're accepting these deposits and processing them. We don't do it as realtors, right? But we need to be mindful of how that money flow is going to happen, because we could, like to Deb's point, we could end up impacting our client's ability to close. And if we said we can close in this amount of time, but we can't because there's a certain amount of time that stuff has to happen. And title even has their own rules around how many days for things. So there's, you just want to be aware of that.
Absolutely. And your market centers are the ones that are going to and we're going to super encourage you guys to take the class at your office on the local guidelines for writing up offers, so that you're 100% clear on how it works, so that your buyer is 100% clear on how it works. Because even though it is a crazy market right now, as we move forward, these guidelines must stay in place. So we're going to write up our offer. We've got our deposit amount, and what are other items of discussion while you're writing up your offer?
Inspections.
Inspections. Okay. What else? What else do we discuss when we're writing up an offer in terms of contingencies? Inspections. What else might be contingent upon buying a home?
Financing.
Correct, Bill. Financing contingency. Anything else?
A home sale
contingency.
Home sale contingency. That's always fun. What else?
I've seen a lot more offers where the sale is contingent on the seller finding suitable housing.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Carrie. That's not in your offer, but if it was disclosed correctly on MLS, now you're going to have this discussion with your buyer. So that may be a contingency that you have to discuss, that says, that you say with your buyers, okay, how long will you give these people to either find a home? And then of course, now we have to talk about some options. Can they go rent Trevor's condo? Or no, or do they, there's several ways to look at it. And again, like Tim said, there's several layers of that as well. So let's just say, so we have to look at all of those things. Inspection contingencies. Let's talk about that a little bit. Who pays for the inspection?
Buyer.
Okay. What happens if they do a home inspection and they find that the heating system hasn't been cleaned for a year? Who pays to get that? Like have a heating person come over and, there's some question about the heating system. Who pays to have the heating company come over and inspect it?
Buyer.
Seller.
Seller.
The buyer.
Seller.
Depends. It's
All
really
right.
depends
Yeah.
on the negotiation. Depends on negotiation.
Interesting. Okay, this is why this is really good. I don't know. The answer to, in my mind, and other people can chime in, the buyer is doing an inspection. They have 10 days to do due diligence. A home inspector has a great knowledge of a lot of things about a house, but typically a home inspector is not a licensed heating person, a licensed plumber, licensed roofer. I mean, maybe they are, but probably not, or licensed electrician. So they may see something in that heating system, it's full of rust or there's something leaking. It is, I think, the buyer's responsibility to continue with their due diligence and do their own homework on their home. Otherwise, what is the second choice? The seller's going to say, oh, I'll have my person come over and look at it. Their person's going to come over and look at it and go, hey, I've been working on this thing for 50 years. It's dynamite. Is that really in the, now remember, you're a buyer agent in this scenario. Is that the best direction that you should be advising your buyer? What do you, let's have some comments on that.
No.
I think you're right. The buyer's due diligence, and that person is looking out for their own interests, whereas the seller, it doesn't have the stakes in it. I think you're right. It would be the buyer's responsibility, and mine as the agent to do my due diligence.
Yeah, I think you're right too. I misspoke earlier.
But can that be talked into a negotiation? Can that be talked into a negotiation?
Well, that's.
Yeah, that could be.
Yes, that's after you have done all your due diligence. And again, I'm just one agent here, but, and this could be a good discussion at lunch somewhere with your, people in your office. How do they handle it? But typically you have a due diligence time period, because a home inspector will find things that are, he or she knows that there's a problem, but isn't fully qualified to make a full evaluation. Termites, bugs, beams, it's your job as a buyer agent to recommend that they have a secondary follow-up with somebody who is in the business of taking care of termites or bugs or whatever it may be. And then we move forward if there is something substantial. Because a lot of home inspectors do find things, and then the professional comes in and says, I know it looks that way, but these termites have not been here for 50 years. Or that beam, yes, I can fix it. The house is not going to fall down, but it could be $800 or $1,500. So that way now, as your buyer, as a buyer agent, you are having some really good knowledge and moving forward as we move into the negotiating piece. Now let's turn the corner. Yeah, good point, Bill. Also, we've got radon problems, water testing done, all of those things. Make sure when you're writing up your offer, depending on your buyer's timeline, if they're a pilot and they're gone for a week, don't give a week for home inspections. They're not going to have time to do it. Again, in this market, it's hard to get what we want. But yeah, let's make sure that we're very, very conscious of, make sure you have a calendar with you when you're writing up your offer so the whole thing makes sense. So you're going to have some follow-up conversations and having a follow-up inspector. Mold is our favorite topic these days. Let's not just say, I don't know, yeah, it's probably mold. Let's have somebody come in. Most of these guys, I mean, in my area, they do it as a courtesy. They'll come over, do a quote, and then now we know what we're dealing with, and we can discuss that as we move into more of the negotiating piece. Now, we're in the mindset of a buyer agent. What should the seller agent be doing at this moment in time when we hear about, of course, now we haven't really got to the presenting, but when we hear about heating system problems or there could be mold, what is the seller's responsibility on this one? Thoughts?
You're praying.
If they know anything, if they know anything about it, they have to disclose.
Right? What other thoughts?
Well, maybe they're asking the seller to locate some documentation that says when it's been serviced, or if they know anything more about the property and the problems with the system.
Right. So this is sort of a discussion that you now again, we're trying to be in two different mindsets here, but now the seller agent now has another little thought process. Okay, I hear there's something funny about the heating system, and I know they're going to have a heating person come over. They're going to have an electrician come and look at that panel that looks rusty, or there's something questionable, and we all know the old double tap and all of those. What should the listing agent be doing? Should they be doing any due diligence on their part?
Yes.
Or what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or or does a seller just wait for a quote from some heating person that says the heating system's ready to die and needs to be replaced next week?
You know, maybe the seller could, maybe they could work a concession or consider that as part of negotiation, where if something needed to be.
How does the seller know if that's an accurate evaluation of their own heating system?
Maybe they should have their own inspection.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I just sold our house in April. We moved from Pittsburgh up here to the New England area. And I think this goes to, as a selling agent, having a really strong vendor list. Our agent was able to call one of her vendors that she has a great relationship and refers him a lot of business. And he just swung by one day, took a look at our system. I mean, it was a simple, easy thing. And he just wrote a note saying, everything's fine, the system checked out. And, you know, it wasn't a cost to us, it wasn't a cost to her, because they had such a strong relationship.
Right. And that's magical. That's exactly right. And that goes without saying. That's way back in day 2, 3, 4 of real estate. Ignite, building your database with really, 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 really good vendors so that you can, at a home inspection, call up your person and say, hey, next time you go and buy Dunkin' Donuts, can you swing by and look at this house and tell me what you think about the heating system? So yeah, we're getting a little bit right now, we're focusing on writing up the offers, but yeah, as we move forward, there's a lot of tactics that we want to talk about in writing up the offer. So we're writing up the offer. We've got our offer of 500,000 or whatever. We've got a deposit. We've got contingencies of inspections. And generally, what's the timeline for inspections? Anybody have any number there?
10 days, I think. 10 days.
10 days. Anybody else?
Good morning, this is Yi. Hey,
10
Sam, how are
days.
you? What's going on?
Yeah,
Oh, you need to
hey.
mute there. Oh, ooh, that worked. All right, cool. So we were talking about 10-day home inspections. And again, be very clear with your buyers and their timelines in your own timeline. Let's make sure we have time to get these home inspections done. If we're going to do radon, get them in early. If we're going to do any water testing, try to, you know, right at the bottom of the offer, there's a sentence that says time is of the essence. That means you are putting forth a timeline and everybody's going to agree that we're going to do everything and get it done in our own timeline. So let's always make sure that we're clear on how long things take, okay? And mortgage contingencies, not all the time nowadays, but most of the time a buyer will have a mortgage contingency. What is the timeline on that, and how do we make sure we're being smart about that piece?
So the mortgage contingency comes in after the appraisal is scheduled so that we can get a commitment letter.
Yep.
So usually the appraisal happen after the inspection comes in. So I would say 10 business days for the inspection. And then 2 weeks after the inspection would be the time frame where the appraisal comes back. And that's where the commitment letter has to come in after the appraisal comes back.
Absolutely. It's typically, well, this is a discussion that you will be having with the lender, as in yesterday's class. When you're having a pre-qualification, you're having a buyer consultation, they've submitted to you a mortgage pre-approval or pre-qualification, part of your job and your due diligence is to have a have a discussion with the buyer's lender and say, what is your timeline for a mortgage commitment? Hopefully the lender has done a lot of work with the buyer already and has all the information that they need and their tax returns and all that good stuff. Now we have to start plugging the house in. So what is the mortgage lender's timeline for mortgage commitment? Trevor, you have a question?
It doesn't have anything to do with the mortgage lending. Going back to the inspections, let's say you bought your house 5 years ago and now you're selling it and you already had it inspected for radon. Do those tests last a certain amount of time, or do you always have to redo them?
If you did a radon test 5 years ago, that is what was going on 5 years ago. You can certainly share that unless any other agents in here have any issue with that. That's 5 years ago, and that's the buyer's decision whether or not they want to do their own. They always have the option to do their own in Mass anyways. You can check for everything in Massachusetts, believe me. But, you can do a radon test, in 1 year, and it could be completely different a year later. I mean, that's the weird thing about radon, So, a homeowner themselves never has to does not have to do that. If you personally have a need and want to know about the radon in your home, certainly you can do them. And some people are very, very concerned about radon. Some people think it's a bunch of hooey. It's really up to the buyer's decision. If you have one and you feel comfortable, right? Tim, what do you think about disclosing a 5-year-old radon thing?
Well,
Good, bad?
It's about making sure that they understand what their due diligence is and what they're, what they can do to feel comfortable. We've had people that, and I think it's, for New Hampshire, the over-under number is 4.0. So I would always sit with buyers and say, so if it comes in at 3.9, we're cool, right? But if it comes in at 4.1, they're going to lose their natural minds. And I appreciate that. Like we did radon when we bought our house in Stratford, and it was up there. It's very prevalent in New Hampshire. We had young kids. I didn't want to find out if they were going to have a seventh toe, so we did it. And we did water and air. And now some people will argue if you do the air, it fixes the water, vice versa. We did both. So we have a huge chemistry kit down in our basement, and that's fine. And, our numbers were corrected. I think people need to feel comfortable. They just need to be made aware of the opportunity here. And, depending on, that could be a number your lender's looking for too. So it really depends on, the time frame in which you're buying. I don't think it was tied to our home inspection or something that our lender was looking for at the time. In the grand scheme of things, their comfort level, because it could come back at 4.1 and they could be like, that's cool. It's not ridiculous. We had a place, there's a street in Barrington, and we ran a home inspection and we ran radon in the basement, and where you traditionally run it. And to your point too, Deb, the execution of the test could change the numbers too. That's a big thing. You've got somebody who goes in, doesn't make sure that it's sealed, and you're going to get variable numbers. That being said, we ran one in a basement in Barrington, and the numbers came back north of 60. So for comedy purposes, we're like, let's try one in the kitchen. It was 30 in the kitchen a few days later. So needless to say, there was a radon guy running through that neighborhood doing everybody's radon after the fact. And some people think the EPA made it up. I'd err on the side of caution and do what makes you feel comfortable. And I think you can always, if the owner of the home inspection report is comfortable sharing the report, you can share that. But I would err on the side of caution and say that a radon report from 5 years ago is a radon report from 5 years ago.
From 5 years ago, just
Amen.
like any report from 5 years ago.
Yep.
In there can be radon. Yep, there's machines, but I'm really all about getting the getting the professionals in. They know what they're doing.
Yep.
I think, in my opinion, and I'm not certainly any expert, but obviously if it's a machine that shows a meter and a tag coming out, you know, of what's happening in the house at that moment. Now, what's happening in the house on April 1st may not be what's happening in a house on July 1st. There's a lot of controversy about
Frozen
radon
ground,
and
yeah.
weather and frozen ground, and should the windows be shut?
Yeah.
Sure, all the windows should be shut. Well, yeah.
Deb, I was just gonna say, so there's some chatter in the chat here about a buyer using a tool that they purchased. So you would have to have permission from the seller if you were going to even entertain that. I don't think very many sellers would allow a buyer to use a tool that they purchased themselves, being an unlicensed person to inspect their property and to negotiate on that. Certainly as a listing agent, not sure that I would advise my client to allow that.
You don't trust the radon sniffer outer I got on TV over the weekend?
Yeah.
With free shipping? You sure?
So be aware of that type of thing. When your sellers are agreeing to an inspection, they're agreeing to a licensed inspector coming into their home and inspecting. Radon, yeah, we're like experts on radon here in New Hampshire because so there's lots of different factors that weigh into it. It's a naturally occurring thing. It can change over time. So if you have a report from 5 years ago and you want to disclose it, then right. But also the buyer could be fine, right?
Well-
Like 5, you know, so that's the thing. Like we just, you know, that's still the buyer's discretion if they want to test for it. Even if you as a seller supply or disclose that 5 years ago we had this information, right? The buyer still has the right to test it or not.
And people get very excited about the expense. Arguably, it's about $1,200. And Bill and Erin and anybody else from New Hampshire knows right now that a lot of builders have now started to build properties with the stack already into the weeper, not built all the way out through the roof line, but there's a stack in the foundation into the weeper ahead of time, just in case somebody decides to. So I was all excited when they started doing that. I'm like, oh, it's only going to be like $800 or $750 now. They're like, no, it's still $1,200 because they're still coming in to put the stack on and the fan and all the important stuff. That being said, that's where I would want to have that math ready. So when your buyer comes back and says, we found radon and they're not willing to pay for the mitigation or even split the mitigation, 1,200 divided by 30, I'll wait, is not worth them not moving in, right? So you have to be ready for that conversation. Mr. Lindsay, are you willing to forego half a cheese pizza once a month for the next 30 years in order for your kids to be in the school system you wanted them to be in the first place? Awesome, sign here, right? So the $1,200 should not be a reason they don't move in, but we have to be ready for that conversation and make it make sense for them too.
Exactly. And this is what we do as agents, help people understand the big picture. You know, yes, absolutely. We want a very good licensed inspector. And again, back to Amy's point, have really good vendors in your phone, in your database that are going to do great home inspections and have have a mold inspector, a radon inspector, a bug inspector, a flying squirrel inspector, whatever it is, you have to have all of them. Because I had a flying squirrel thing in an attic and it was not easy to get them out. But, this is what we do. And, that's why we are hired as a trusted professional, because we surround ourselves with other trusted professionals. And home inspectors are not done by Uncle Joe in his little meter that he bought on Amazon. And they can certainly do it, but there will be no negotiating based upon the findings of that person. So as a buyer agent, you need to educate your buyer and say, I love Uncle Joe. He's awesome. And he probably knows more than all the home inspectors, but he has no leg to stand on in this discussion. You will not be able to do any negotiating based upon that. And that's something as and Uncle Joe may, in well-meaning, find things to worry about you, about, oh, you're a kid. I'm gonna say this is bad because I'm worried about it, even though it's fine. And even though he thinks you're a kid, you're grown-up people. and you can handle certain things in home. So anyways, let's make sure that we're always talking about everything very much in a professional manner. So yes, home inspections. Erin, you got a question?
Oh, no, I was just gonna alert you to the time. I know we've had a rough start, but
Yeah.
many of us have been 2 hours in a chair at this point. So I'm suspecting we might need a stretch and a little
For
bit
those
of
of you that
bio
don't have a
break.
pickle jar under your desk, we're gonna
Yeah.
let you run to the men's and ladies room.
Yeah.
To edify the conversation, I did the
I
math.
was
It is
wondering
70 cents.
that, but then I thought there's been so much trouble. Okay, let's do a hard 10 minutes.
Uh-oh.
Oh my gosh, I jinxed you.
Not everybody's coming back from the break, everybody. Yeah. And if you're looking for the math on Radon, it's 77 cents a week over a 30-year note.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
To 77 cents a week over a 30-year loan to mitigate a $1,200 job.
Thank
So
you.
we should not be walking away from a deal over that, for the love of God.
Yes. Thank
And
you.
geeks everywhere.
Yeah.
Cool.
Erin, I have a quick question.